Social anxiety. So, in my life, I don't actually know, where my social anxiety came from. I know that I've always been slightly shy and reticent. I know that to some degree, uh, there have been certain situations that have always made me slightly uncomfortable. But it's something that, that I deal with. It's something that even though I don't want to do certain things or I don't necessarily like being in social situations in certain ways, I still show up. But I also know that there are certain social situations that are actually really healthy and that I really like. And those things I'm more than happy to show up to. Um, what ends up happening uh, is you decide, hey, you know what? I'm feeling relatively uncomfortable about going and doing this thing. And then sometimes you this rolls with you for a period of time. And then you just say, well, it's time to move. Because the movement that is the action, is the power. So you've been hindered, these fears, and these fears come from really legitimate places. So my social anxiety, some of it has to do with really real legitimate experiences that condition your brain, right? So this part of me that is me, as far as I know, at least a portion of it, has been conditioned by these instances, these situations that are real. And am I going to deny that, to be unreal or untrue? No, not at all. Because even if we're afraid, even if we have these phobias, even if we have these deep concerns, like, we have to be honest with ourselves. We have a choice. We can delude ourselves. We can break ourselves. We can create these many minds. There are many different things that we can do in terms of self-protection, of this internal core of our ooey gooey goodness and our wonderfulness, right? Uh, but the deal is that we want that. Like that good part of us is good, and so we protect it, right? And that's okay. But social anxiety sucks. I mean, it prevents you from so many wonderful things that are potentials in your life. Um, and people read it the wrong way because to them they haven't had the experience of being jumped many times, or they haven't had the experience of being screamed at, too many times, or they haven't had the experience of having to fight for every last thing in life. That's not their experience, and that's okay. Because honestly, that's not what I want for anyone, because it's not nice, it's not fun, it's not good. It might make you really strong. It might make you pretty callous. It might make you all kinds of things. But it's not going to make you necessarily the person that you want to be. The person that you want to be, nice, kind, enjoyable, friendly, This is a good, these are good things to fight for, good things to live for. Because even though we might feel uncomfortable, even though we might be a little disturbed in terms of our outcome, of our inabilities. I mean, sometimes our inabilities to do certain sorts of things because of your phobias, and that's really understandable, especially if they come from real experiences. So you're not actually making up the fact that there is a certain level of danger in certain scenarios. And yes, some of those dangers might actually be they might be heightened. They might be to a level that is untrue, right? I mean, but it doesn't mean that there is no danger. It doesn't mean that there are no problems. It doesn't mean that people aren't going to mess with you, or that you might, you might offhandedly offend someone yourself. And not because you wanted to, not because you meant to, not because you were being mean, but because, you know what? The conditions that you have experienced in your life has augmented what you think, this life is kind of all about, which is okay. But social anxiety really sucks. It really prevents you from all kinds of great things in your life. It can make you doubt yourself. It can make you doubt like going to places. It can really keep you from talking to the people that you want to talk to, talking to them about the things you want to talk to them about. Woo! So it can go on and on in terms of anxiety, but you have to where is it coming from? Oftentimes what's occurring is coming from somewhere. And even though I don't exactly know where my first instance is, I do know that most of the things in my life actually have to do with realities written in neurons. So people can say whatever they want, but your brain is certainly recording some things, and it's not it doesn't record it perfectly. It does all kinds of tricks because it's a beautiful, wonderful mass of this beautiful protein, and it's doing beautiful and wonderful things for you. So sometimes we have to work our way against it. We have to look at, okay, when did that happen? Then how am I going to interpret it? How am I going to interpret it? And then sometimes, maybe today I'll say, well, tomorrow I'm not going to act the way that I did today. Even though I know I might have a biophysiological response. There might be something inside of me that says, well, you know what? I'm going to act up. And then I'm going to say, well, you're going to act up, and that's okay. I'm going to feel it. I'm going to experience it, and I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let it go because I'm not holding on, because you know what? Holding on is not your friend. You have to be really soft with what you're holding on to because it can destroy you. So with that, I hope that if you're having problems with social anxiety, or you're having problems with phobias, or you're having other sorts of problems, that you dig into them. I really do. And not to say that you should go and relive them and relive them and relive them, which you may. And this is something that's a deep and a really deep concern. But if you can figure out when, oftentimes you can then decide that you are going to interpret that experience in the way that you want to. And you may need to forgive, and not because of the other people, because they're assholes, right? They're terrors. And maybe even some of them should be punished. And there are ways of making that happen. Maybe you need to, go through law, and sue them. Or maybe you need to do certain things to, get them arrested, or whatever it takes. Because, some things that happen to some people are really horrific, and there should be consequences to those people, when sometimes there isn't. But even if there will be no consequences for you, even if there is no answer to that, you may still need to forgive, because that person isn't thinking about you. That person doesn't care about you. If they did, they wouldn't have did that probably, or whatever. Living is pretty complicated. But I hope that tomorrow you're a little better than you were today. And I think that you can do it. All right. Have a good night.